Ships and boats. Introduction. Before the war, there were cars, trains, or airplanes. Boats were the fastest way to travel. Boats and ships helped to shape history, leading the explorer to new lands and carrying goods, people, and ideas around the world. Ships and boats have changed a lot over the years, but still share many features with the earliest designs. Let's take a look at some of the different kinds of ships and boats. Early ships and boats. The original boats were carved from single wooden logs. Boats of this kind date back to the Stone Age. People used fire along with tools made of stone, shells, or wood to hollow out of logs. These dugout canals were used in rivers, lakes, and oceans around the world. People used long poles, paddles, or oars to move the canoes through the water. Paddles and oars are long pieces of wood with broad, flat ends and that push against the water to move the boat forward. Later, people began to make boats with wooden frames. They used steam to bend the wood into the shapes they needed to make the frame of the boat. Then they covered the frame with bark or animal skins to keep out of the water. People living in the far north made kayaks from driftwood covered with sealskins. They used these boats to hunt and fish over wide areas that they would not have been able to reach without boats. Some frame ships, such as galleys, were much larger than logboats. Thousands of years ago, many ancient civilizations around the Mediterranean Sea used galleys for trade and warfare. The Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Persians and the Romans all used galleys to build and maintain their empires. Galleys were frame ships covered with wood that carried many rowers. The largest galleries had hundreds of rowers sitting on several decks. Many galleys also had sails that could be used when the wind was blowing in the direction the ship was traveling. Some galleys designed for warfare had rams built into their prows that could pierce the sides of enemy ships. Over 1,000 years ago, Vikings of Scandinavia used wooden-framed longships to cross the sea to raid coastal towns and villages in neighboring countries. A typical longship was about 28 meters long and carried 20 to 30 oarmen. Like galleys, longships had sailed in addition to their oars. Viking longships were sometimes called dragon ships because of the dragon heads carved into their prows. The Vikings were skilled sailors and warriors, and their ability to land by supplies anywhere along the coast gave them a big advantage in battle. They also used longships for trade and exploration. Sailboats and sailing ships. The ancient Egyptians were using sailboats over 5,000 years ago. The earliest sails were made from animal skins or from reed mats. Later sails were made out of string, straw, linen, or other cloth. Wind power captured by sails hanging from masts eventually became the main methods used to move boats and ships. Sailboats could travel much farther distances than ships that relied on rowers for their power. Sailboats could even sail against the wind by sailing a zigzag course into the wind. Around 5 years ago, larger sailing ships began to be built. These sailing ships were able to cross the Atlantic Ocean and were used for trade and exploration. Famous explorers such as Christopher Columbus and Ferdinand Magellan used sailing ships to travel from Europe to North and South America. Magellan was also the captain of the first sailing expedition to sail completely around the world, a journey that ended in 1522 after more than 3 years. Steamships and steamboats. When steam engines were invented, they were used in many boats and ship designs. Steamships did not depend on the wind for power. They could sail directly into the wind, or even when there was no wind at all, which no sailing ship could do. Steamboats using paddle wheels became an important way to move goods and people up and down rivers quickly. One of the largest and most famous steamships, the Titanic, sank in the North Atlantic Ocean after striking an iceberg in 1920. Modern ships and boats. Today, many boats are made of metal and plastic. Many ships and boats use diesel or gas-powered engines to turn their propellers. The propellers push the boats through the water. Some modern boats use the ancient catamaran design to travel very fast. A catamaran has two hulls, which keep most of the boat out of the water. This allows the catamaran to travel faster than most ships with only one hull. Also, large modern boats with gasoline or diesel engines were everywhere. People still use smaller boats for fishing, fun, and sport. It is almost impossible to look at a river, lake, or ocean and not see a variety of boats. Many smaller boats still use propellers or sails just as the earliest boats did. Some modern ships are very large. Cruise ships are like floating hotels. They can carry thousands of people to exotic destinations all around the world. Huge tankers carry oil and gas over the ocean. Oil tankers are very large ships that are often over 304.28 meters long. The largest oil tanker in the world is over 457.2 meters long. That's longer than an Empire State Building in New York is tall. Special ships and boats. Some boats and ships are designed to do special work. Tugboats push and pull larger ships in places where they can't move themselves. Tugboats also guide the very large boats to dock when there is little room to maneuver a big boat. Fireboats help put out fires on other ships. Ferryboats carry cars and people short distances. Navies use many types of ships and boats, large and small, to defend their coastal areas. Military transport ships carry soldiers around the world. Submarines hide under the surface of the water. Aircraft carriers serve as floating runways and allows planes and helicopters to fly anywhere in the world. Cruisers and destroyers patrol coastal water. Conclusion: ships and boats have played an important part in the advancement of civilization. For thousands of years, they have allowed people to explore their world and travel to places that were once out of reach. They are still an important way to move people and things quickly over the water. Sunday, July 24th, 2011. Today I stayed at home all day. I wanted to go swimming with my friends, but the weather isn't very warm, so I didn't go to swimming pool. So I stayed at home and played computer games and watched drama, and I read some books and played with my brother. Not, I didn't do anything interesting, just rested in my house, and I ate lunch. We ordered lunch from the Chinese restaurant, and I read books. I did my homework, and we ate dinner, some vegetables and cooked rice. My brother wanted to eat chicken, but my mother thought we eat mm, mm, meat very much often, so we didn't eat chicken, and I watched TV after dinner. But my brother had to sleep early because he had to go to swimming early tomorrow. So he slept before early, so he complained to me, and I slept.